Hmm.
And here we go. We are live. Everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the What Lurks Beneath Eyewitness Podcast, Episode 1. This is a really special series where I interview eyewitnesses, have them recount their experiences with cryptids, the paranormal, and the strange and mysterious. Today, joining us for our first ever podcast episode is Dylan. Dylan is a subscriber of mine who goes by the nickname of Deadpool, and he's here to tell us about some terrifying encounters with what he believes are Bigfoot. Dylan, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, I used to be a Marine for a little while, and then I became a private contractor. Actually, because things in the Marines didn't work out. I spent a little time in Eastern Ukraine and saw combat there. Saw some pretty gruesome stuff, actually, if you want me to be honest. But I won't talk about that. Yeah, so I've had multiple encounters. One, and I live in Colorado, first of all. Right now, I currently reside in Denver, but where this first encounter happened was actually out towards Estes Park, off of Highway 34. I don't know if any of the viewers have heard of that or if they're familiar with Colorado, but yeah. So I'm a Colorado native, and I guess I'll just jump right into the first encounter if you would like me to do that.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're ready, go ahead and tell us as many details as you can remember. Fire
Oh,
away, buddy.
all right. And first, before I do that, I do also have two other Sasquatch related encounters, and then one thing that I don't know how to explain at the end. But the first one, I had just enlisted in the Marine Corps at the time, and me and my other buddy named Dylan as well. I'm not going to list last names, that's just how it goes. But anyway, so I wanted to do some high elevation training because I was actually what they call a poli, um, which is like you're getting ready before boot camp. So I had went and got some gear like a rucksack and all that, and like loaded it up with a bunch of heavy stuff, and I brought my 1911 with me actually as well. And my friend Dylan, he just went to the Army surplus store and bought some stuff similar. But anyway, so we were driving up Highway 34, and we decided, we're not going to go all the way to this park. We're going to maybe park around, but 10 to 5, it was either 10 or 5 miles like east of Estes Park. So we just pulled off of the side of the road, and there's actually a house on the left side of the road, with a bridge right there with a steeper mountain than the one we were going to try and climb. What we did climb. So we got out of the car. We got everything. My 1911 is concealed because at the time I was only 18. I don't think it was legal to have that at the time. But anyway, it was a legal gun. Anyway, it was my father's, but. So it was a pretty steep hike. It took us, it was probably at least 2/4 to 3/4 of a mile going like basically at like a, not quite vertical. It's like, maybe like at least a 60-degree angle, I would say. So anyway, it took us a while, and we finally got to the top. And at the top, when we got up to the top, it's kind of, to explain it, it's kind of like there were some big boulders on the top of the mountain, and then there's like I wouldn't call it a mesa, but there's a flat area. From where we walked up, there was this area that goes, it's steep all the way down to the road right next to us. You know what I'm trying to explain? It's like I don't know. We were walking up like almost like a pathway through like a canyon almost, kind of. So but anyway, so when we got to the top, we took a smoke break. We smoked a cigarette, and then Dylan actually decided to climb the rock. I wasn't going to climb the boulders. I didn't really care to, but he climbed on top of one of the bigger boulders. and his face turned white as a ghost, and like just turned around and started running the other way. And so I immediately pulled out my pistol and was like, "Hey, stop running! You know, like what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?" He's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, there's a big ass black bear behind that boulder right there." And there was like 4 boulders in a row. So I pulled out my pistol. I kind of believed him because of the look on his face. So I took out my pistol and I walked around the boulder, like the 4th boulder away from it, peeked around, and there's probably like at least around a 300-pound black bear just digging in the ground right there. And I turned back to my friend and I was like, he was telling me to shoot it, and I was like, what? I should punch you for saying that. Like, I'm not gonna poach an animal, you retard. Excuse my language, but I was like, we're just gonna let it be, you know what I mean? And as soon as I said, I looked up, and the bear actually looked at me, and I thought it would run away, and it kind of started like not like it was just like walking kind of casually towards me, not like in an aggressive way. But that's unnormal for black bears, and I know that. So I chambered around and shot to the ground in front of me, and it took off the other way, down the other side of the mountain. And so probably about literally 2 minutes later after that, me and my friend, we got this weird feeling that like, it's hard to explain. It's just like basically you get really bad anxiety, like horrible anxiety. And it was probably around like an hour to like maybe 45 minutes before the sun went down. And me and him just both looked at each other like we got this weird feeling, and we were like, yeah, we should probably go, you know? And it's kind of steep taking the first step down to, you know, descend the mountain. And so I kind of was helping him by grabbing his backpack to take the first step down the mountain, because it's shale up there. It was shale, so it's really slippery. And as soon as he was taking like his first leg hit the bottom part of the shell where he's going to start descending, a rock probably around the size a boulder around the size maybe a volleyball, in the middle between like a volleyball and a basketball sized rock, comes flying. Like, I don't know who plays baseball. I played sports growing up my whole life, and you know when a baseball whisks by your head, like you hear that type of sound, you can hear the velocity of it. Well, this boulder was thrown with this velocity, and it barely missed my friend's head. I'm not even kidding. Maybe like an inch, if not a half an inch away. Like it would have killed him. I could guarantee it would have killed him. And it hit the pine tree. It was probably about I don't know, 10 to 12 foot like pine tree, and it split it right in half. Like and it knocked all the needles off as well. Like, and that's so much force where me and him just looked at each other like kind of just in disbelief. Like, dude, we were thinking for like maybe a time span of like 30 seconds. I was like, I don't think bears throw rocks, you know? And then so when I was talking about earlier, because we started backing up down the hill, down the mountain, we started descending just back and starting to back up. And there's a tree line right on top of us that goes like basically on the side of the wall, you know, that goes all the way to that's covering us while we were walking down. And there's a tree line there. We just hear boom, 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 like footsteps that like rumbled like the earth. Like I could definitely feel the vibrations, the tremors from whatever was running. And so then like I pulled out my pistol. I didn't know what else to do. I pulled out my pistol, cocked it back, made sure there was, and just unloaded the whole clip to the general area of where the sound came from. And then immediately after that, it might have been like a couple seconds span, but something yelled at us like it was like the best way I can describe it is like a woman on her period that's so pissed, and like a lion and like a freaking gorilla or something. I don't know. Something like King Kong, like mixed with like a feminine feminine yell, and it hit us like it vibrated like our chest. I could feel it in my chest, and that's when we both turned around and got the hell out of Dodge. Like we got the fuck out of there. We started running down the mountain like lone survivored it. Like we tumbled a bunch of times. I actually sprained my ankle. Thank God that's the only thing that I hurt. But it was kind of cool. But at the bottom, kind of towards the bottom, we found what looked to be like a dead. It was a dead mountain goat, and we found two horns that were just laying there, and we actually grabbed them and took it with us, and we got in the car, and I don't know, we kind of talked about it, but like we just didn't know what the fuck it could have been. And well, he was like that. I was saying like that has to be a Bigfoot, you know what I mean? Like I didn't think that they could be in Colorado. Like I thought, I've been like a believer my whole life, like in the Pacific Northwest and stuff like that. But I had no idea that, and so he didn't know. But anyway, so that's the end of that. I actually went home, and I don't know. It just kind of made me obsessed a little bit, and so there was Oh, but I actually missed something too. When we started running down, and the first time that I kind of like tripped a little bit and caught myself, and I turned back, and over the tree line, I could see what looked to be like a head. I couldn't make out any details, but why I say this is because I said, Dylan, look, and he looked too. I was like, look above the tree, and that tree was at least like 9 to 10 feet tall. And then as soon as I told him to look, it ducked down like it was gone. He saw it duck down, just a quick movement. And then we really just, I don't know, it was a pretty scary feeling. And I've been in combat. So I've never really felt it's a different type of fear that you feel. That's definitely true. But that's my first encounter right there.
Wow, that's awesome, buddy. Do you want to go ahead and go on to the second one?
Yeah, I'll go into the second one. The second one actually is in a different place. It's kind of near where I live now. It's a town called Sedalia, and my mom actually came with me on this trip. But we were just we weren't even looking for Bigfoot or nothing. We were just going on a hike, and well, we went up. It's probably around, like, I would say maybe 20 to 30 miles away from Pikes Peak. And I'm sure people from Colorado, they know what that is. Yeah, it's a little, it's definitely west of Sedalia, up Highway 66. And so we drove up there to a place called Rampart Road or something like that, where it's like you could turn off and park in like a dirt road, So we everything was normal, we parked. It looked like it wasn't in the middle of the day. It was probably around like 3 hours before it got dark. But so we started going on a walk down one of these trails, and my mom's not in the best of health, so she has to take her time when she's walking, and all that good stuff. So me and her I was ahead of her, of course, but I was keeping an eye on her. And we were probably about maybe 500 yards from the parking area, the sand parking lot, on this, like, it's like a foothill mountain. It's like not a tall mountain. It's almost like a foothill, but it's covered in trees where we were. It's definitely the mountains, but it wasn't a tall one that we were on. And I was in front of her probably about 20 feet. And I had stepped up on this log to look, because it was the end of this like little foothill thing. I stepped on this log to look down, look down in the holler. And right, maybe I would say, I don't even, honestly, it was maybe 50 yards, maybe even if not closer, because it looked huge. But there was a big, huge, like probably 8 to 9 foot Sasquatch walking away from me. So I couldn't see its head, but it was walking away from me. And my instinct was, I have a gun on me this time too. Actually, I have a Colt single action revolver, 4.5 ACP, long Colt. I mean, but anyway, I didn't even pull that out or nothing. I actually screamed like a little girl. I don't know why. It was just like my instinct, I guess. I don't know. And I turned around and ran right past my mom. And then I stopped. I was like, oh, hell, nope. If I have to make sure my mom sees this, so people don't think I'm fucking lying, because I don't want to be labeled as a crazy person, So I came back to and I couldn't leave my mom. What the hell am I thinking? It was just adrenaline, like fight or flight, and I definitely was not going to fight that thing. Didn't even think about my gun at the time. So I went back. I got my mom. We walked to the edge of where I saw it, right by the log, and I had my mom. We were right by the log, and we looked down, and there was nothing there. So I was like, fuck, damn it, like, oh, it's gone. I was like, I just told my mom, like, I promise, I'm not lying. I swear to God, I'm not lying. And I was like, and we turned down and looked again. And then it stood up. It was hiding behind a bush right next to one of these big, I think they're like cedar trees or something. There's a big tree with like a little shrub bush right next to it. And it stood up. It was obviously sitting there watching us. And then it stood up. And my mom was in disbelief because she's actually the one who saw it first. Like, she spotted it out to me. And then I saw it starting to stand up. She's like, well, what is that? And then I looked, and it was standing up, and that's when I did pull out my pistol, and just in case, like, this thing comes at me or whatever, just in case. And it just kind of stood there for a second, and then it like kind of just ducked behind the tree and was like gone. Couldn't see it anymore. So we just cautiously, we didn't run because I know it's a stupid thing to run. We just walked back to the van and got the hell out of there. And my mom, which leads to the third encounter, is because by now I am like obsessed with I want to see these things again, like I don't know, it kind of takes over once you know that they're real. It changes your mindset hugely, if you know what I mean. And so I convinced her to take me back there at night, but she said she's not getting out of the van. I was like, all right, that's fine, I was actually on some liquid courage that night as well. I think I drank a bottle of Jack or something like that. But I wasn't like belligerent drunk. Like, I could, I didn't drink the whole bottle or nothing. I had like a couple shots. So I was just feeling, a little confident. And I went out into the on the same trail. I went off trail just a little bit and like hit some wood against some wood, and I didn't hear anything back. I started making some like trying to do some like calls like that you see off those dummies and finding Bigfoot. I'll explain why I think they're dummies in a second. But anyway, I tried some of those calls and nothing happened. And then so, I was like, screw it, there's nothing that's going to happen. And I started walking back, and I remember as soon as I got onto the trail on top of that little foothill thing, a branch, probably about 1.5 to 2 feet long, comes flying like a tomahawk and smacks me in my freaking right in my eyebrow above my eye. And it hurt so bad. Like I saw like just black, kind of like you see like the little white dots that people call them stars. Saw that for like half a second, and then I came to my senses like, what the hell? Because there's no other cars in the parking lot either. So I mean, I that's when I just sprinted back to the van, showed my mom my eye. She's like, what the hell happened? You know what I mean? I was like, I just got a freaking log thrown at me. Obviously, I got the feeling like I need to leave. Like that's a warning, maybe next time it's going to be a giant rock that's going to like kill me, or I don't know what the hell they'll do to me, but I just know that you don't want to mess with them. So I'm guessing that is was the same one of the Sasquatches out there in that area, and this is in the same place in Sedalia. And so, yeah, I got the hell. We got the hell out of there. My mom got scared by seeing my face like that, you know. So, those are the 3 Sasquatch encounters I have. But wow. I would like to explain why I think finding Bigfoot's a joke, because, I mean, they're going out there. They're not spending real time in the woods, you know. They're not, and they have camera crews following them all over. Like, I don't think they understand that, you know, these things are obviously so smart. They can see you from a mile away. You know what I mean? Probably even more than that, they can hear you. And they're not going to find, it's just a joke. And I think it's an embarrassment to the Bigfoot community that, you know, actually knows what's out there. So.
Right, and I never imagined on those shows them finding anything just because of that reason alone. I mean, there's groups of people, there's you know, audio people, there's camera people. I always thought it was kind of just more for entertainment value than anything else.
Yeah, it's entertainment for sure.
Now, I will say the eyewitness interviews were always cool. I enjoyed that.
Me too. I actually do. I enjoy that. It's always good to hear. But I can tell when people are lying, you know. Like, you can just kind of just tell if you have a really good sense of dealing with liars, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and, you know, I'm sure there's certain people on there that want their 15 minutes of fame on TV, you know, so they're going to come up with a story. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of your encounters, buddy. So the first encounter you had mentioned when you guys were on top of the mountain, you had mentioned like a strange feeling of anxiety. Now, was that kind of like a feeling of dread, like something was watching you, maybe something was wrong?
It felt like something was definitely watching us, you know, like the hairs on our neck definitely felt like they were. I got goosebumps for sure. I remember saying I have goosebumps, and my friend said, "Oh, I do too." And we kind of thought like the black bear like circled around and was like watching us, you know. That's what we were thinking, you know, 100%. That's what we were thinking. And so I mean, I do think so, that it was a feeling of being watched, you know. I don't know how else to explain it.
I mean, it's almost kind of like a gut instinct, you know, where I don't know if it's like that predatory instinct where you're like, okay, I'm definitely being watched by something. And you start to immediately, you know, your acute senses pick up everything around you and you're like, uh-oh, something's off.
Definitely. And I was actually on Sasquatch Chronicles and told this story. And Bob Garrett, he's a guy that used to live in Colorado, used to, like, way back in the day, and had experiences with Sasquatch. And now he lives in Texas and East Texas and deals with them all the time, apparently. But he thinks that they might have been hunting that black bear, and that because I scared it, that they got kind of pissed at me for it, you know?
Yeah, I've actually heard several encounters of, you know, Bigfoot literally chasing deer into the road for cars to hit it, you know, for an easy kill, or getting pissed off because somebody drove by, spooked a deer, and out comes the Bigfoot, you know, pissed off that this person
about Dogman as well, actually.
Yeah.
That's a creature I would never want to come across, to be honest. Like, I'm cool with, like, I'm cool doing, you know, expeditions, going out and camping in the middle of the woods to try and do some, like, Bigfoot activity for, like, a couple days, you know, deep in the woods. But I'm not trying to come across anything that's, like, Wendigo-ish or freaking whatever that stuff is. No, I don't deal with that. I don't want nothing to do with that, you know?
It just kind of reminds us that, you know, we're basically prey out there, buddy. I mean,
yeah, you don't know what's out there.
There's some serious alpha predators out there. I was gonna ask you, did the wilderness get quiet at all when you were starting to feel that, you know, feeling up on top of that mountain?
Actually, it did. It got perfectly quiet, and I think that's part of the reason that we got kind of, you know, spooked a little bit.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because, you know, I've heard on many encounters, it's like these very long-term experienced hunters will always talk about, you always know when there's an alpha predator in the area because the woods will get silent, and that means, you know, there's something around. And that's when your gut instinct kicks in and you're like, uh-oh, you might be being hunted, buddy.
Yeah, like something else is in the area with you, and you're not the only hunter.
No.
And in cases, you're definitely. I mean, if you have a big enough round, I feel safe. You know what I mean? Like I'll destroy anything if I have like a nice, 408 or something like that.
Well, and who knows how long that thing was there before you guys even got up there. You know what I mean? Like you had said, if it could see, a mile or so away, it probably knew you were there. And,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
has it's coming up the mountain because I remember shooting at a couple trees with my gun. I forgot to say that. On the way up, I was kind of popping off rounds at trees doing target practice.
Oh, yeah. Making some commotion. I'm sure that kind of got them wondering what was going on.
100%. I guess it did. I mean, the thing is, I had to have seen it because seen the head duck down, but I couldn't see any details. I just saw it's like a reddish type of brown, like looked like kind of like a conical head almost. I don't know. I really couldn't tell honestly. I just saw a head, something red and brown, duck down behind a huge tree. Oh, it's not huge, but it's bigger. It's probably around 10 feet tall. The tree, at least.
Wow. That must have been a little bit frightening to say the least.
Well, I mean, the thing that really freaked me out was how close that boulder came to killing my friend. And what would, if that happened, am I going to get charged with murder or something? Because, like, we were on top of the mountain, there's not falling rocks,
Right. Yeah, that would have
I
definitely
would have had
been.
it. And then what would have happened to me if he would, like, would they have tried to come after me next or something? I don't know, because I feel like that was intentionally meant to hit him. It was
Yeah.
that close.
Well, and if that happened, what do you tell the police that Bigfoot threw a rock? You would have been detained, bro.
Yeah, I would have been. It would not have been good. That's what freaked me out the most. And that would have been a gross scene to see. I mean, I've seen gross things, so I can handle it. You know what I mean? But it would be horrible seeing my friend get his head blasted the hell in.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the rock being thrown because that was actually, the next thing I wanted to ask you about. Do you feel like maybe it acted aggressively towards you and your friend because it's possible you guys encroached on its territory or where it was hunting,
Yeah,
possibly?
yeah. Or maybe they had. Bob Garrett also gave this theory is that maybe they had children around, like, or something like that. I think it's one of the three. Is that I encroached on his territory, and one of the two, I guess, because if I encroach on his territory, it's probably going to have its kids around. And second, maybe they were hunting that black bear, who knows? But I know it was definitely aggressive. I mean, that was very aggressive. So I I believe that some of these cases, the missing 411, David knows, which, David knows with some of them what happened. Like, he has a pretty good hunch, but he can't say it because, the families and all that. And, it would just cause drama for him,
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. There's some stuff he's just not allowed to talk about, which I'm glad you mentioned him because I'm sure many of my listeners out there and people who are listening to this right now are probably very familiar with his work and very familiar with his books. And so, and it's interesting that a lot of his accounts kind of all go back to, people seeing a hairy man or some sort of hairy bear man thing. And it's like, why are Bigfoot taking people? Like, what's going on with that?
I feel like some of them are, I feel like there's other things that take people as well. That the government, like, what about Dogman or the Wendigos and rakes and freaking skin, whatever the fuck is out there, like, who knows?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And when you had mentioned about, the Bigfoot territory thing, out of all the encounters I've kind of come across, usually Bigfoot, from what I've seen, are generally more curious, and
Yeah,
passive. They'll watch, they'll look, but to act aggressive, that's all territorial, man. Like that's,
it has to be.
especially with them throwing rocks with the intent to kill. I mean, I've heard of them like throwing pebbles. I've gotten tons of encounters like that where they'll pelt rocks, kind of just like to, or maybe bluff charge you or kind of just stand you down to kind of like get you out of the area. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard things of like um, logs and pieces of wood being thrown. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But so yeah, for it to act aggressive, that definitely tells me that there might have been young nearby, or like you said, maybe they were hunting, or you've definitely pissed it off, whatever you did.
100%. That is for sure. Because I I mean that's why I shot at the trees. I think that made it even more pissed. You know, I really do. Because then it yelled at us like I've never heard it yell in my life before.
Yeah, you made it mad. How big was that rock that it threw at your buddy's head?
It was like between a volleyball and a basketball size.
Oh, so if you were to like get
A
on top
little
of somebody
a
with
little
that
bit
thing.
bigger than like a volleyball, but
Oh
maybe
yeah.
not as big as a basketball, just a little smaller.
So you could basically crush somebody's head with that easily.
Oh my God, yeah. Wait, well, so those pine trees, you know what I mean? They're thick. Like it takes an axe a couple times. It would have took an axe a little bit while to cut this one down, and this one just snapped right in half, like it was nothing. And that's way harder than human, skin and bone.
Oh, that would have splattered your buddy's head. That's a good
It
thing it
would
missed
have
him.
been gruesome. It would have been some Quentin Tarantino type shit.
Dang. Yeah, well, it's a good thing you avoided that. When you had talked about the head popping up, did you recount seeing any details of its face or anything?
No, it was too far, and I just had tripped when I turned around and saw it, and I said, "Hey, look!" And he looked right in time when it had ducked its head, and I was too far away. I couldn't really see details. I just know it was a reddish brown, like conical looking thing that just dug down real quick.
It was some sort of Bigfoot color scheme, the brown and red, which seems to be a common one along with black. It's interesting you mentioned the brown and red. From what I've read, like the whole black Bigfoot is actually really common in the Northwest, and I think I don't want to say the Northeast, but the East Coast in general as well, and I guess like the West Coast. But people do talk about seeing, a kind of a brown reddish Bigfoot, and they usually did it kind of have longer, shaggier hair from whatever you saw.
It looked like I couldn't see any face, so it had to have been pretty long hair.
Yeah,
I didn't see much detail on that. I really didn't.
a
Not
lot
as
of
much as the next one though. I saw that one.
Yeah, a lot
Oh,
of stuff I've read, like, Texas all the way up to Wisconsin. I think even like a little bit towards like Ohio and down like Minnesota. There's a lot of stuff that describes kind of like a red brownish Bigfoot. So it's interesting that Colorado is kind of right there in that lump. I don't know if it's that there's a different species of Bigfoot that live in that area or what the dealio is, but yeah, so you to
like,
mention different colors is kind of cool.
yeah, definitely. I think it might be on their environment, like where they, because to be reddish brown in Colorado, that's a pretty good attribute. You know what I mean? Through the trees and stuff, the
Right.
type and the type of terrain we have out here in the mountains.
Have you ever heard of people seeing like white gray Bigfoots?
Um, Not in Colorado, in Pennsylvania though. I have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've have a couple accounts from Bob Garrett. He was actually saved apparently by a Sasquatch once because he used to go out mining. Like he used to go out mining way out past Durango, probably 30 miles northeast of Durango, and like for months at a time. He said he was really ill once, and he said he was laying in his little cave thing spot, his little camp, and the last thing he remembers before he like passes out because he had like a fever of something bad, some type of bad, and it like carried him all the way to someone camping in an RV, slapped the side of the RV and dropped him at the side of the RV, and they came out and like saved his life.
Wow. It's incredible, man. All the different behaviors of Bigfoot. Like you said, some will kind of seem to be more peaceful and friendly, and even like that, even rescue you, whereas others are passive and just watch you. And then when you have encounters like what you experienced, they act extremely aggressive.
I
And
yeah, I feel like it's all on whoever the alpha is of the group, the whatever the tribe they live in, you know? Like
yeah, they're like a people.
yeah, basically, and I feel like some of them hate humans and I eat humans. I'm like the Native Americans, you know, like a lot of them talk about how like the name translates to cannibal, you know?
Well, that's also crazy. You touch upon that too, buddy. I don't remember the tribe, but I believe they're in Northern California, and they would refer to these beings as mountain devils, and they had a name for it, but that's basically what it translated to. And they would recount how these beings would come into their villages. I want to say it was nighttime, and would literally kidnap their like children and women. I don't know how much this happened. I don't know how often, but they would have stories of these happening, and they would like eat their children, like literally eat them. And you just think like, oh my gosh. And most people today just kind of blow it off and don't really believe it. But
Oh
these
yeah.
people were terrified.
Oh, of course. And in the Oklahoma thing, I forgot the name of it, but where there's like a famous general or something like that that a long time ago they went and fought Bigfoots in Oklahoma that had been stealing all this tribe's. I think it's I forgot the name of the tribe, but they would steal their children, and then they found like once they finally like, I guess they kill. I don't know if it's true or not. It was a long time ago. It was like it had to be in the 1800s, something like that. But this the LaFleur something like that. LaFleur County is in Oklahoma. I guess I'm pretty sure that's the name. But I guess he got his head like beaten off by a Bigfoot or some type of Sasquatch, you know. And then they wound up like killing him because they had 50 cal guns. I guess way back. It had to have been like 1870s or something like that. But and they found a whole body, a whole pile of like dead eaten children, which is horrible, you know.
That's insane, man.
I'm
It's
surprised you haven't heard about that.
no, the only one I've heard that's been similar is I think it was on YouTube if I remember right, but there was an ex-military personnel who had discussed a case that he had back in the 80s where him and a team, I want to say like 6 or 7 other special agents were assigned a very special task. And I think it was like Kentucky or Virginia, where there kind of seems to be more aggressive Bigfoots for those Bigfoot experts out there who know this stuff. And they were assigned to kill this family of Bigfoots that were I think they were talking about how aggressive they were and how they're like killing people. And so the team went in there, it took 3 days. They lost a couple of guys, but it said that they were able to track these things down within 48 hours and take them all out. They didn't
Oh
talk
yeah,
about,
I actually heard about that as well.
yeah, yeah. So you see how like this is kind of a thing. And I remember him saying in the briefing that he thought it was a joke. And his team was kind of like laughing about it. And I don't know, you're the military guy here, but I don't know if it's the sergeant or whoever that gives the debriefing of the missions. But I remember when he was telling the story, the guy who was giving them, go ahead.
The CO probably.
The CO, yeah, when the CO was giving the briefing for the mission, he just kind of like sternly looked at him and was like, "No, this is what's going to happen," and they were just kind of like, "Holy shit," So yeah, these things exist, man. They're out there, and they could either make you into meat or, yeah, you really don't want to find out.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me ask you about the second encounter you had, where you had mentioned that you actually had saw this 8 to 9 foot tall Bigfoot thing walk away from you. Can you give any more descriptions to what you saw and how long you saw it for?
Yeah. So when I first saw it, I saw it for probably about 5 seconds before I screamed like a little bitch and ran. But I could see this one was like a darker shade of brown, not black, but it was a dark shade of brown. And it was I could see just how big its chest was, probably about 4 feet at least, I would say. I mean, it was huge. It looked like King Kong's baby walking, and but it kind of like had like not as thick of legs as what you would think of an animal with that much body mass at the top, you know. So obviously these things are strong as hell, and yeah, I saw how this one had like fur that it wasn't very shaggy, you know. Like I could definitely see like when it was walking, I could see its muscles moving. Like so, it wasn't as long as fur as like as a lot of people report. It was kind of like a short. I could see its muscles while it was walking. I could see its back, like its you know, shoulder blades moving, and they were just massive.
It kind of just, blows off the whole person in a suit, when you could literally see the muscles moving underneath the fur.
Oh yeah, and how tall it was. I mean, it was at least 9 feet tall.
That thing's massive. That's a behemoth, man.
Yeah, that is a behemoth. I've heard of them up to being 12 feet tall, you know, sometimes, but it's it's hard to judge distance, but I know I'm pretty good at it with judging distance. But with telling how big it was, because I never went back and like I should have went back. I should go back and like stand where it was and take a picture so I can see just how tall it was, you know. But I would feel like it was at least two of me, and I'm 5'9", so.
Do you remember it having a really, barrel body of just solid muscle?
Yeah, that's just exactly what it was. It was a walking piece of muscle.
Kind of had the more cone-shaped head from the back. No neck.
It was kind of. I mean, it wasn't necessarily like a cone, but it was rounded. But it did make kind of like a cone-ish type thing on its head. It was more rounded though than it was cone, for sure.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of more the common trait that a lot of people see. It has, like you said, it not directly cone, but more cone-ish, but it has more of a round look to it, just more so than our skulls.
Yeah, way more. But you nailed that perfectly on the head. That is exactly what its head looked like.
Ha! No pun intended with the nail joke.
Yeah.
Did you happen to smell anything?
I did not. I did not smell a thing, actually. But what's weird was the forest was quiet too. The whole walk.
So it was definitely in the area for sure.
Yeah, I didn't notice it at first. I kind of did, but like I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't get like a bad feeling or nothing, and it just came out of nowhere. It was such a surprise, and I'm so glad my mom saw it. So my mom's not a liar, you know, like she does not exaggerate over anything. So I mean, I'm glad she saw it, so other people don't think I'm a friggin' whack job, you know.
Probably scared the poor woman to death.
Yeah, she's not in the best of health either. But
now,
she couldn't believe it. She could not believe it.
Was she a believer at all, or did she just think it was a joke? I mean, what was
I mean, she likes to listen to paranormal stuff, but like seeing is believing, you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. It'll
like,
change your.
I saw or even had experience like I like believed in Bigfoot, but I wasn't sure, you know.
Well, yeah, until you go in the mountains yourself and find out they're really there.
Yeah, I know. And then, the second time, the time that me and my mom saw it, I could kind of see from what I saw. Have you seen the picture? What's his name? Todd Standing. The pictures Todd Standing took up in Canada.
Yes, I have seen those.
The one that's lightish, like a lighter color, and there's like a log in front of it. It has like a flat face, like almost like an Ewok kind of face.
Actually, you know what? Since we're on this podcast, I will go ahead and pull it up on Google right now. Let's see. Todd Standing. What would I even call that? Bigfoot face?
Yeah. I would guess there's a couple of them. A couple of them have cone heads. That's
not yeah. The Ewok
the
looking
one
face.
that had like the Ewok face, and it was like a lighter blonde color.
Mm-hmm.
That's the different color I saw, but the same type. It looked kind of like the same type of face from what I could see, and I was probably around 200 yards away. But I could see that it had like a flatter nose and just like It looked like black eyes. I couldn't see completely its eyes, but they were completely black from what I could see, you know?
So if you had to guess, as far as like the closest you can get to a face, you're saying that's what it looked like, that middle picture there, the one with the
Yep.
log in front of it.
Yep.
That's
Definitely.
that's awesome. It's really interesting to hear that there's a lot of backlash with the whole Todd Standing thing. A lot of people say those pictures are hoaxed and they're fake, and I
I don't think so.
I honestly don't know. I don't even know how he got them.
Well, I mean, he was pronounced missing, and they had to go. Park rangers finally found him because he was out looking for Bigfoot, and I mean, he will. I mean, he took Survivor Man, Les Stroud
Mm-hmm.
out there, and he had some. Les Stroud had some. He has experiences, and he's had experiences with Todd Standing too, and not just with Todd Standing. His whole Bigfoot Survivor Man thing. He's had stuff happen in like North Carolina and stuff, and I heard
Alaska. He had talked about the one in Alaska too.
the one in Alaska where he heard like a gorilla shaking trees behind him, and I don't know, and he even had Todd Standing had Jeff Meldrum. He said to any non-believer, he'll take you out there for free. And by the time you leave, he'll guarantee you that you'll believe in Sasquatch because something will happen.
Wow. That's powerful.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I have no reason to doubt him. And the Finding Bigfoot people thought it was fake. I just wanted to punch them in their mouths. Fat money maker, I'll fucking punch you in the mouth. Excuse my language, but he just has a punchable face.
Well, that whole premise of the show is just entertainment, man. I mean, like I said, the eyewitness encounters is a really cool part, and I think there's a lot of genuine experiences that did happen. But when they go out there and they bring the whole crew and they're trying to hunt there at 12 o'clock at night, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna find this Sasquatch," there ain't no way, buddy. He's coming on camera for you or anybody else.
And what are you gonna do if you really do find one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what if they really filmed one? I mean, do you think that the majority of people would they probably just think it was fake?
Yeah, like they'd be like, "Oh, it's a TV show. It's like Mountain Monsters, like that fake ass stuff."
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point, if someone was to really like snap a good Bigfoot photo with like a DSLR camera or whatever and put on the internet, I guarantee at least over half people would be like, "Oh, that's Photoshop, that's fake, that's staged." Even if it is genuine, it's like when people say there's no pictures, I think it goes deeper than that. I think, there might be pictures out there that actually might be a real picture, but there's probably so much hoax pictures that are like interwashed with stuff, and I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at those pictures. I do, but I can never distinguish, what's really true and what's like, okay, this is probably obviously hoaxed.
Well, the first time I saw those pictures of Todd Standing, especially the one I was just talking about, before I had even seen that Bigfoot or even had my second encounter, it like gave me chills. Like looking into those black eyes, like I don't know, something about it just looked like it looks like a wild animal.
Yeah, it has kind of like a wildness to it, and it's interesting to note that the eyes, they're not totally like pitch black, like nothing there, but it's kind of like got that gorilla look to it where it's really dark, but if you were probably close enough, you can probably make out an iris and a pupil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but so I don't know if you'd heard the episode. It was a recent Bigfoot one I released, and in it I had talked about an encounter that my dad had shared when he was in the Florida Everglades, and he just had mentioned kind of the same. It acted and smelt like a wild animal. It just kind of had that wild. I don't want to say.
Yeah, I did hear that episode. Yes, I did.
Yeah, it just kind of had that wildness to it, and it's even though these people are, these things might be a people, they're kind of like animals, man. It's kind of frightening.
Oh yeah, and another thing that people, if I don't know if you know about them or not, it's a YouTube channel called How to Hunt, and it's this guy who he's been a hunter his whole life. He guides hunts, and he finally came out with like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, about his Sasquatch encounters. And
I can only imagine.
And he lives in British Columbia, like he lives in the northern part of the Rockies. I live in like the southern part, he lives in the northern part, and I mean, he has some crazy experiences. So I recommend people to go listen to him because I mean, you could tell he's just not a no bullshit man, you know.
Oh yeah, and the area you just told me about, that's another hotbed of encounters too, man. So many people talk about seeing those things up there. It's crazy.
It really is. I mean, I would like to do. I actually know a police officer in Colorado Springs who went camping with his children and had a Bigfoot come surround their tent all night and scream at him all night until like 5 in the morning. And he just sat outside. It made his kids stay in the tent, and he sat outside with his gun all night, just hoping that they wouldn't come in. And I actually know this guy, and we want to go do some like like some expeditions out there. Because he knows where he's actually brought people. Another friend of mine who lives in Winter Park, Colorado, and they went out, and in the middle of the night they heard something come into their tent and dumped their cooler over, and they said they were too scared to look outside. They were terrified. But so I know I'm going to start doing some expeditions myself here very soon.
Be careful what you set out to discover, my friend.
I know. Trust me, I've been smacked in the face for it.
Well, and they say that once you've like actually had a run-in with them, that it somehow like makes you a catalyst for drawing more of them in. And people talk about with the Dogman too, I'm sure, as you know. And it's like they're drawn to you after that. Like they know that they exist.
Yeah, that is true. And I I wonder if I mean that's a real possibility, and it all could be just chance too. Because I mean, there's like my grandfather, he's hunted in the wildernesses all over the world, and he's never had an experience. You know what I mean?
Right. And, yeah, like you said, there's many, especially around here where I live, man. I'm in Washington State, and there's many areas up towards like central Washington and central southern Washington, and like the Gifford Pinchot, which is a national forest, a lot of hunting area to go and do stuff in. And there's hunters who have never experienced a thing, and there's hunters who have a multitude of firsthand accounts. My father-in-law actually is a hunter, and he goes and hunts out on Mount Adams, and Mount Adams is a mountain probably about 50, I don't want to say it's 100 miles away. I'd say maybe 50 from where I live. And there's so many like weird sightings and stuff there of like UFOs and lights and things like that. And so he'll like recently in the past couple of years, he started like wearing a GoPro and just going out there and exploring. And he loves to like try and find like skulls and stuff of animals and just anything he could, like even obsidian arrowheads, like anything he could find. And he said that there was one time, I don't know if it was in like the past couple of years, but it was pretty recent, that he had went up there and something had followed him. And he said it wasn't human, but it was big, and he could hear it like listening through the trees. And he didn't fully elaborate with me, but I'm definitely going to try and get his, encounter on the channel and have him like tell it to me.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. Actually, that sounds crazy.
Because yeah, I mean, it just goes back to that
big out there.
Yeah, it just goes back to these things. They hunt you too, man. They watch and they listen, and like you said, I'm sure they know you're in the area long before you even know they're around.
I can guarantee that's a fact. I feel like they are the masters of the wilderness. They own the wilderness. Like,
well, and even sense. You know what I mean? Like, I know hunters will try and work along with the wind so that way their prey doesn't pick up on their scent. Well, if these things live in a area their entire existence, which I don't know how long Bigfoots live, but they're probably used to certain smells and areas. And so if a person would come in, don't you think they would smell you from a ways away and know that, hey, there's someone in the area or there's something else here? So they could, it just makes sense to me that they would be able to avoid you easily just on smell alone, probably regardless of the wind.
Oh, 100%. And another thing is, like these self-proclaimed Bigfoot experts, like some of the people on Finding Bigfoot again, and a lot of others Like, I mean, until you have one in your garage studying it, you're not an expert, you know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and there's really no way you're going to unless you literally recover a corpse.
yeah. And I'm sure the government has. I'm sure they know what these things are, and there's a good reason probably why they don't want us to know. Because, you know, I heard about the Mount St. Helens thing where, like, you know, the when Mount St. Helens blew up and there was a bunch of National Guard people, you know, taking burnt Bigfoots and even helping some of the ones that were still alive. And I heard that on I forgot where I heard that, but I heard that somewhere. And I think that's pretty neat too, you know? Like,
Whoa, I'd actually never even heard anything about that. But I've wondered about when that mountain erupted. Yeah, I'm like, what about all the Bigfoots that were living in the area?
yeah. Well, it's on. I think it's called. It's on some YouTube. It's like strange, unexplained something. I don't know, but yeah, they talk about that, and it's an actual first-hand account from one of the National Guard people. So it's crazy. He said like they would go to caves and they had one that was like burnt, but he was still alive, and he would make a sound in one of the caves, and if there was no sound, they would go in and they'd bring out like a corpse, and there's another caves where they would make the Bigfoot would make the sound, and a couple more engine runs would come out and they would help him, like they helped him, I guess. I'm not completely sure, but it went something like that, you know? And I think that's pretty cool.
Wow, yeah. So I mean, right there, the government obviously knows that these things exist and there's something else going on. Have you ever, gosh, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but and this is to everyone listening too. He's on YouTube, and I don't know if it's true or not, but if it is true, he did a pretty good job. Or if it is false, he did a pretty good job. He supposedly has like a frozen head and a frozen like foot of a Bigfoot, and a lot of people mock him for being fake, but I don't know. He did a pretty good job. It looks like a realistic head. I mean, it's massive. It is a massive head that apparently his grandfather shot and killed this Bigfoot like back in the 50s and stored, I think he cut up the body and stored pieces of its body in like an industrial freezer. And it's been in that freezer for like 50, 60 years. And he like shows it on camera. He shows the foot and then he shows the head. And so that's something you should go check out. Again, I don't know if people know what I'm talking about. I don't know if they consider that real or not, but it's definitely interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I actually wanna look that up. That would be cool to look up actually. How do I find it?
Gosh, let's all check it out right now. I think if you go to YouTube and let's see, I think it's Bigfoot head frozen. I'm gonna try that keyword to see if it works. Here it is. It's called Bigfoot head frozen since 1953. Only proof in existence of Sasquatch. It's by a person called Peter Kane Dog Training. Peter Kane, Petercaine.
Oh wow,
And
yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to look that up.
dude's kind of got salt and pepper hair and got a little bit of a facial hair for any of you guys looking around. If you type in the words Bigfoot head frozen in YouTube, it shows up for me about the fifth one down. So, yep, by Peter Kane Dog Training. For all those out there listening, he has over 100,000 subscribers. It's got over 1 million views. Anyway, you guys can all be your own judge. Check out his stuff. He could be a fake or he could be real. So,
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna check that out too.
now, lastly, my last question for you is, do you think that that thing was watching you, and do you think its intentions were malicious, or do you think it was just curious?
Which one?
I guess any of your experiences in the
I
times that
feel
you
like
felt that
the
it was watching
second
you.
one. I feel like the second one was what me and my mom saw was definitely curious. The first one, I definitely got the feeling it was malicious because the second time I didn't get that feeling of anxiety. First time I did, and then the last time was definitely malicious too. It had to have been. I mean, he hit me in whatever it did. It hit me in the head with a freaking log. You know, so I think the first one malicious definitely. Second one was definitely curious because I mean he didn't. Once I pulled out the gun too, it's like he knew what a gun was and he just kind of casually walked away. Or he didn't walk away. He just disappeared behind the tree. And in the third one, I didn't even see anything. I just got hit, you know?
Whoops, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, isn't that interesting that they seem to know what a gun is?
Yeah, they have to. I mean, I'm sure they deal with hunters. I'm sure they watch hunters all the time. And I'm sure there's hunters out there that have never seen them but have been watched by them. You know what I mean? I can almost guarantee that.
Oh, I'm sure they observe and they watch and they learn.
Oh, yeah, they learn what a gun could do. Because I know guns could definitely kill them, you know? I kind of feel like it's almost harder to shoot like a Kodiak brown bear. 'Cause I've seen them take like 11 shots, you know? I'm sure Bigfoot could take a lot. I've heard military stories of them, you know, emptying clips and it barely killing it, you know?
Yeah, or, I wonder how many 50 caliber rounds it would take to take down one of those things.
I'm sure a 50 cal will put it down with one shot.
I mean, because these beings, they can take a lot of punishment, man. They can really go. And their speed alone, I'm sure, makes it tough to shoot.
Oh, yeah. But I'm sure, like, if you had a 50 cal BMG, you know, like, with a well-placed shot to its head or its chest, that's going to end its life, you know? Because I've seen 50 cal shots go through 3 feet of concrete. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's insane. All right, Dylan, we are all out of time today for the first episode. I want to thank you so much for coming on and recounting your stories.
Of course, I didn't get to tell my last one about the ghost. The thing.
Oh, go for it. Actually, yeah, go for it. Tell it.
I could tell it really quick. Well, anyway, so my friend Raul, he didn't believe me about that stuff I saw with my mom and the stick. So we went up that night to the same place. It was at nighttime in his BMW. We were drinking, not that much, but we were drinking a little bit. And we got up there and Liquid Courage, you know, we walked off the side of the trail, probably about 50 yards. And after that, I mean, we got the same feeling I got the first time, that my hair stood up and everything, and me and him kind of looked at each other like, let's go, you know, we're in the middle of the woods it's like middle of the night, and then we heard a stick break, and so we turned around, and maybe about 15 to 20 feet was what looked like a glowing, like neon green Russian 70s gas mask. It wasn't a gas mask, but that's the closest thing that I can describe it to. And there was no body under it, so I don't understand how a stick broke. And I started screaming like you know, like out of just adrenaline screaming. And then we both just turned around and we ran back as fast. We cut through the brush because we didn't want to take the trail. It would take too long. We cut through the brush to get back to the parking lot faster, cut ourselves up all nice. And when we turned around, we didn't see that anymore, but we saw a green, like, neon mist, like, hovering above the trees, right, like, probably about 100 yards away from us. At the top of the trees, there was like a green neon mist, and we drove the hell out of there. I still don't know what that was, and I swear on my life that is true. And I have no answers for that. I don't know if it was a ghost or an alien or what the hell it was, but it was something weird.
Like I said, once you see one of the many things that are out there, it just you seem to be drawn to everything else.
Most definitely, brother. I appreciate you having me on your show, though, too.
Absolutely, buddy. Hopefully you can have some more experience so you come back to the show and share them with all of us.
Oh yeah, I got your numbers, and I'm gonna start doing some more expeditions, you know, and bringing my brand new phone I got. Maybe getting some. Who knows? You know what happens, but I'm gonna definitely stay in touch and get into some more expeditions and let you know what happens. You know.
I love it. Maybe we'll have to film a follow-up podcast here in 6 months, a year or so.
Yeah, sounds great with me, Brad.
Alrighty, Dylan. I appreciate all your time with us today and for sharing your experiences and for coming out on the show. It's been wonderful chatting with you. And yeah, we'll keep in touch, buddy.
Yeah, it's been wonderful chatting with you too. You have a good rest of your day. And thank you everyone out there listening. Be careful when you're out there because you just never know, right?
Absolutely. Everyone out there, be safe. Don't do anything stupid. And don't, from him and I both, don't go hunting for these things. Because
Oh,
if you
one more
do,
thing.
oh, go ahead.
One more. I also catch rattlesnakes part time for a living, collect their venom. You know what I mean? So I deal with dangerous stuff all the time. And like I said, there's nothing that plus combat that I've been through. There's nothing that has put fear like that into me. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just had to add that in there. It's a different type of fear.
It's all good.
Type of fear.
I'll probably put your story. I'll probably put your story along with after the second one to make it more cohesive. Because I'll go back and I'll re-edit some of this stuff and I might move things around, cut certain parts out. But I'll probably keep it as close to what it is now. This episode will probably come out. What is today? Today is Thursday the 26th. So probably sometime next week or the week after. So I will personally text you and let you know, hey, buddy, the episode's up, Aaron. And
Awesome.
yeah, so alrighty, Dylan, I appreciate your time. I had a wonderful time, and I will see you in the future.
Yeah, it sounds good. And you recorded it live, so how can people listen right now?
No, I'm actually recording it, and then I'll go back and edit it and then put it up because I'm gonna add an intro to this and everything. So this is just our conversation. Good. Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I appreciate it. You know what I mean? And I look forward to talking to you soon and hearing it.
Absolutely, buddy. I'll let you know.
I'll keep you updated as well. But you have a good day.
Sounds good to me, buddy. You have a good one, Dylan. Take it easy, man.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.